This episode of the Metatron's channel is brought to you by the Metatron's t-shirt, Metatron's cube line and Roman Imperial line, both available through Teespring. Link in the description below. Caput Mundi. Is this allowed? Huh? Hello number ones, welcome back to my channel. This is the Metatron speaking, and today we're going to talk about Rome, because it has been a while, and how can we survive without talking about the majestic Roman Empire? So here's the thing, I've been thinking about the legiones, the Roman legions, and of course we all know how amazing they were and all the things they did, but why were they so victorious? And most importantly, how did they do it? Why were the Romans so combat effective? They were, sorry? Did you just say cane? I told you I don't want to hear that name. I said I don't want to hear it. I don't care. Don't make me use this, mate. Alright then, I'm a fanboy, I'll admit it, but every civilization has had its hiccups, if you will. But, you know, as far as Roman history is concerned, of course there are situations such as Cannae, and for example the famous Battle of Teutoburg in the German forests. But you see, still that doesn't change the fact that in the majority of cases, so if we look throughout Roman history all the way back from Republican time, early Republican time, all the way to the majesty of the Roman Empire, the Romans, their legions were incredibly effective. I mean, facing the Romans in open field, open battle was suicide. But how could they have such a well-oiled, perfectly performing machine? War machina. What were the secrets of the Romans? Well, if you're interested, keep watching to find out more. Now, this is a rather complex topic. It is three-dimensional from a historical point of view. There are a lot of aspects that need to be taken into consideration, and of course, although we do tend to look at Roman history as a whole, there will be a huge difference between the way legions will perform and the way they will function in Republican times, in Imperial time. And it's not only a matter of only what period we're talking about, so the sort of government or governing system, governing body that we have at that specific moment, but it's also a matter of reforms, and there are quite a few reforms, including the most famous one of which is, of course, the Marian Reforms. So what we're going to do for this video is that we're going to examine those things that we could consider to be common throughout almost all the ages of Roman history, and those fundamental aspects that made the Romans almost unstoppable. Advanced technology, military discipline, constant training, meritocracy, and the ability to absorb useful enemy technology. Now, these are just some of the aspects which are profoundly Roman and made the legiones formidable in battle. The Roman army was considered the most advanced of its time. They developed fighting techniques that were linked to a ferocious training regime. As a result, all new recruits to the legion became fit and disciplined. Training was harsh, and failure will bring punishment. An important thing to say about new recruits in the Roman army is the fact that they were always placed at the front, having the more experienced soldiers and veterans of the army in the back. Quite a few reasons for this. It stopped the new soldiers from running away if their courage deserted them. Roman legatus also did not want to lose experienced legionaries in the first waves of battle. And of course, if a new legionary came alive after battle, then he would be blooded and experienced and became a valuable addition to the army. Clearly, the loss of an inexperienced soldier would be far more preferable. Now, as we said, depending on what age we're talking about, we will see no massed archery, we will see auxiliary starting to fill those gaps within the Roman army. We will see initially poor cavalry being changed, going through a historical military shift, changing the ratio of cavalry to foot. But the high discipline of Roman legionaries will become legend. Legionaries had loads of rules, very rigorous rules that they were expected to follow. discipline was very consistent across all legions, so there was not a significant variance in quality from one unit to the next. Now, of course, another big difference with, if we compare the Roman legions to the barbarian armies, is the fact that all Roman legionaries were very well equipped. Now, of course, this will change again, because it's because of the Marian Reforms that the legionary becomes a job, it becomes a profession. It's not just a duty to Rome anymore. And this changes everything. It means that the doors of the army are opened to everyone, and for a lot of people, although becoming a legionary meant to risk your life, it was a great opportunity to move from a life of poverty to a reasonable wealthy life. And if you manage to go through all your years, which of course the amount of years will depend on what era we're talking about, but if you manage to go through all the years of your conscription, let's call it, then you will retire, have land, your social status, your position will have changed completely. You will have become a veteran, a hero who fought for the glory of the eternal city. Now, even before the Marian Reforms, if we look at the manipule system and the fact that you had lots of different kinds of forces, and of course only those who could afford full armor could wear it, then we will see a lot of variance. But as we move to professional soldiers with the Marian Reforms and later on with the Empire, because it's a late Republican thing, okay, the Marian Reform, and then even as we enter into the Empire, there will be other changes. But the soldier will being a soldier for Rome will be a profession. Everyone will be issued with his own armor, and we will see that all soldiers will be heavy infantry, and they will have full armor, helmet, scutum, gladi, pila, etc. Now, this is a big difference. You don't see this in barbarian armies. Although, again, it depends what state we're talking about. The percentage of armor will change. For example, the armies of Hannibal did have a certain amount of armor. But again, Punic Wars is one thing, Imperial Rome is another. And at the moment now we are sort of focusing on imperial forces, because I think that it is my favorite period in Roman history, but I think it is the zenith of Roman legionary functioning. So the equipment is of course part of the equation, not the only thing though, we'll get to this in a moment, but it is definitely part of the equation. In fact, you don't have one reason that can explain why the Romans were so effective. It's not like it's because they had better equipment. It's not just that. It's as if you're building a wall, okay, metaphorically speaking, and the consistency and strength of the wall is built by many different bricks, but the fact that they are all together create a compact reality, which is what we find. So armor, weapon, pristine conditions of the equipment of professional soldiers is definitely a component of their success. The incredible strategy and ability of a legatus in a legion was also very important. Their ability to use difficult terrain to adapt, because again, this is another thing. Roman tactics were ever changing, were molding, they were fluid like water, adapting themselves to the element that they were facing. So even those who managed to beat the Romans, like for example the situation in Cannae, well, the Romans kept coming back, eventually finding a way, because each time they would be stronger, smarter. Being a professional soldier also meant that you had to, that's what you did 24/7, that was your profession. Now, this is very important, this is significant, because when you have, for example, when you imagine let's say someone from Gaul, okay, yes, he fights, maybe a strong man, he's got a good weapon, but what does he do when he doesn't fight? Farms the land, perhaps has some civic calling, taking care of some specific business, perhaps he's selling stuff, and then he's called upon to fight and defend his countries. What about the Roman soldier though? They were soldiers, of course they were asked also to build stuff, in armor, I'd like to underline, meaning that was training as well, because all the things, every time we see a bridge, we see a street, and we can attribute that to the legionaries, well, please imagine them doing that, building everything, bridges and roads and streets and everything, in full armor, because they had to be ready, always combat ready, because they were professional soldiers, they were military. And this is a huge difference. It's like having a professional chess player fighting against an amateur. And the Romans fought as a unit. Cohesion was another very important thing. Now in medieval times, most of the times you have which is very different from films, by the way, because when you watch a medieval battle in a film, you always see like someone randomly picking an opponent. It's a mess. They're all fighting, you know, 1-1. It's like one against one duels. That's not how things actually work, because in medieval times, most of the times fights were in formation. But at the time of the Romans, in classical times, it was a prerogative of the Romans and of course of the Greeks. Very interesting battles once between Rome and Greece, in fact, and I have a video actually about how the Romans beat the Greeks, and link in the description below. But the Romans did have cohesion. They had tactics. They knew how to fight. Of course, you've got tactics such as the studo, which are absolutely brilliant. And this cohesion made them very, very effective. So it's not like one legionary is superior in melee. Perhaps it might be, but it's the fact that they fight as a unit that makes them incredibly effective in battle. So what I'm about to say might sound a little strange, but if you take a legionary, okay, and you have him fight one-on-one against a gladiator, it might actually happen that the gladiator wins, because that's what he does. He fights one-on-one. He's a professional fighter. He knows all the tricks. He's really good. He's got excellent reflexes and that's right in that situation. But if you take the gladiator and put him in a battlefield, he will be slaughtered almost immediately, because he doesn't know how a unit functions. He doesn't know how to fight effectively on the battlefield. Those are two very different situations to handle. Of course, when it came to siege warfare, the Romans were undisputed masters. Their ingenuity in siege engineering, both in equipment and infrastructure, was second to none in the ancient world. Roman legionaries were skillfully balanced. They had shock, they had tactical versatility. So we do need to sort of remove this idea of a battle was won because of a troop, a battle was won because of a certain weapon. Using terrain, using the weather, generalship, understanding the liabilities of your enemy, of your foe. All of these things, combined with the superior technology, equipment and training, made the Romans formidable. Ultimately, the last thing I would like to mention is the importance of economy. No army can fight without money behind it, okay? And the fact that, and it's actually a loop, it's a circle which could say really began with the Republic and then continued with the Empire. Rome was a successful state. A successful state had a lot of trade and had a lot of income. It had taxation, but things worked quite well. It was very well organized, and so there was a lot of money. They started using that money to produce professional soldiers and legions, which, with their campaigns, will bring more treasures and more money to the state, which will then continue increasing and improving the power of their legions, creating a never-ending loop of improvement, at least never-ending until the fall of Rome, of course. But there, you know, I'm actually making a documentary on the late Roman Empire, and I wish to thank all my patrons, all the people who are actually supporting this idea. Of course, link in the description below if you want to know what I'm talking about when I say documentary. But I would like now to take a moment to thank all my patrons and all the people who support me and support my research and the production of quality videos for this channel. So with the late Roman Empire, it's a completely different situation, but here, as far as notwithstanding late antiquity and its importance, but focusing on the glorious Roman Empire and the times of, even the times of Caesar, Julius Caesar in the Republic, then I think these are, I've just outlined some of the most important elements in the effectiveness and efficacy of Roman legions. Now, of course, if there are other things that you think I have missed out and you would like to mention, please let me know in the comments below, and if I find some of these to be particularly interesting, I might as well even make a dedicated video for it. I wish to thank you all for your time and thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please remember thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more content from the Metatron. And remember, the Metatron has spread his wings. Roma invicta. Valete.